Welcome everybody to update number 29. Yeah, I have bought several new Blu-rays, I think more than a dozen at least. Got a couple on 4K, we got a few from the current 8.8 films sale. Yeah, get on that sale if you want, there's 25% off everything on there. And yeah, I've got one of the latest releases from Eureka and a couple of 4Ks as well. So we're just going to start off with the standard Blu-rays first. First of which is Sudden Death. Really good action film starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. Certainly one of the better Die Hard clones, because this is set in a stadium where terrorists have taken over, holding the vice president hostage. And yeah, it's a really good film. Powers Booth puts in a really quite menacing performance. The terrorists themselves don't come off as charming or likable in any kind of way, whereas unlike Die Hard, Alan Rickman at least had some charm to him, even though he was killing people. But yeah, really good film, and yeah, highly recommended if you're into your 90s action films. And then something completely different, The Curse of the Werewolf. So one of Hammer Horror's films from the 60s, 1961, directed by Terence Fisher, I think it was. Yes, who also did a bunch of the other Hammer Horror films. And yeah, this is easily one of their better ones, and it's got Oliver Reed in it as the titular werewolf. And yeah, pretty overall solid film. Not an absolute classic, the likes of Dracula or even The Mummy will probably rank a little bit higher than this. And then obviously you've got the Frankenstein film that came out as well around this time, which is probably also a little bit better. But as far as werewolf films go, it's one of the better ones, that's for sure. Then we have the disaster film Earthquake. Now this was recently given a Blu-ray release, only in 2019, so it's not an old Blu-ray by any means. But yeah, this isn't my favourite disaster film from the 70s. I'd definitely take the first two airport films over this. And then you also have the Poseidon Adventure and Towering Inferno. But yeah, I'd say this is about 5th place in terms of disaster films from that period. But still, an overall solid effort. You got a good cast as well. You got Charlton Heston, Ava Gardner, George Kennedy. George Kennedy was in numerous of the disaster films in the 70s. I think the main ones that he was in was all 4 of the airport films as different characters. And you also got Richard Roundtree. And yeah, overall solid film. A little bit long, just over 2 hours. But yeah, like I said, this got a recent release. So yeah, it's not an old Blu-ray or anything like that. Whereas the Jean-Claude Van Damme film was... Oh yeah, that was also 2019. And Curse of the Werewolf was 2015. So that is a little bit older. But yeah, still... solid transfer and a fairly decent disaster film. Then we have one that I only recently watched, and that is Shopping. Now this is the first ever film Jude Law starred in. It's got Sadie Frost in it as well, and it's a fully British cast, because you also got Sean Bean and Jonathan Pryce. So yeah, bunch of people that would eventually go on to even bigger things. But yeah, you can basically think of this as the British Fast and Furious, because yeah, it's dealing with criminals and the consequences of crime, and it's got car chases in it and stuff like that. So yeah, it's an overall really good film. I only saw it on some crummy DVD quality kind of transfer, so looking forward to seeing that again on Blu-ray. Then we have Out of Sight, which is probably one of the more underrated George Clooney efforts, also starring Jennifer Lopez, directed by Steven Soderbergh. Yeah, I really like this film. Probably not quite the best of whoever is involved, but yeah, still a really solid film. And yeah, highly recommend it, especially if you're into Steven Soderbergh directorial efforts. And then we have first of 2 films to be directed by Shane Black, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Great cast this has: Robert Downey Jr., Val Kilmer. And yeah, if you don't know who Shane Black is, he was also the writer for Lethal Weapon. Also starred in Predator, another film you'll be looking at in a second, and also directed Iron Man 3. And yeah, and the less that is said about the Predator than there is better, to be honest. But yeah, also got Michelle Mulholland in it, and yeah, it's a really funny black comedy this is, and yeah, well directed as well. And then also from Shane Black, we have The Nice Guys, starring Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. And yeah, this is probably just as funny as Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, not quite as iconic, and yeah, unfortunately this didn't make any money, so there's no chance that a sequel is ever going to be made of this, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, still, really, really funny film. Love the period detail. It's got a great soundtrack to it because it's set in the 70s. And yeah, highly recommend it. It's just a shame that no one really went and saw it. And then on the bit of a darker side, we've got Prisoners from Denis Villeneuve. And yeah, starring great cast basically. Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, Viola Davis, Terrence Howard, Melissa Leo, and Paul Dano, who's recently starred in The Batman as a Riddler. And yeah, it's a fantastic film. Quite long. It's 153 minutes, but trust me, it captivates you from beginning to end with its really rather superb plot and its gripping tension and its characterization. So yeah, highly recommend that if you've never seen it. Alright, now we've got on to the more special kind of films. So we've got a couple of 4Ks, and like I said earlier, Predator is coming up, and here he is. So yeah, did have this on Blu-ray originally, but I thought it was finally time to give it the 4K treatment. And yeah, classic of the 80s, mashes sci-fi, horror and action, and does it in a superb way. It's probably one of the premier films in terms of mashing those genres together. The only one before this that I can think of that was probably even better is The Terminator, also starring Schwarzenegger. And yeah, but still, really, really great film. Shane Black also stars in this. It's one of the lesser characters, but still stars in it regardless. No printed discs though on these. Basic Blu-ray and 4K, but yeah, do get a slipcover with it, and yeah, I am really looking forward to revisiting that because it is a classic of the genre, or genres in this case. And then we also have a film I didn't have on Blu-ray originally, but since it's a classic of, you know, cinema in terms of the way that it melded cartoon animated effects with real life, then it was about time to get Who Framed Roger Rabbit, directed by Robert Zemeckis, is it? Pretty sure it is. But yeah, still, classic comedy that's also skitting on the likes of 40s films as well. So yeah, really, really superb film. The effects still work to this day in terms of melding it between real and live action. Well, real and cartoon, should I say. And yeah, printed discs, 4K and the Blu-ray. And yeah, it's been a while since I saw it, but yeah, really, really looking forward to it. And yeah, directed by Robert Zemeckis, produced by Steven Spielberg, who were at the height of their powers pretty much by that point. And then we also have from Second Sight a couple of films, only the standard editions, but we have Colours, starring Sean Penn and Robert Duvall, directed by Dennis Hopper, no less. It's a little bit out of date in terms of its themes, its politics, and its depiction of the LAPD, because obviously a few years later they will be getting drawn up into a very public controversy in terms of beating up an unarmed black man. But for a product of its time and in terms of the directing and the cast, it's really, really good. And yeah, it's well done in that regard. Pretty engrossing, even though it's a little on the long side. And yeah, printed disc, which is nice to see. And then finally from Second Sight, we also have Asylum, starring Peter Cushing. Not seen this yet, but it is an anthology, a horror film. And there've been plenty from the 70s done by Amicus Films that I really rather enjoyed. And yeah, it's got not just Peter Cushing in it, but you got Britt Eklund and Herbert Lom, Patrick McGee, Charlotte Rampling. So yeah, it's pretty stacked cast, and yeah, I hope it's as good as, you know, that cast makes it out to be. And there's a printed disc, so yeah. And then we have one of the newer releases from Eureka with a really nice slipcover, Midnight. Now this is a South Korean directorial effort from what's her name? Kwon Oh-sung. I hope I'm saying that right. And yeah, fantastic South Korean thriller. Not perfect by any means. There are some frustrating character moments where you think, oh, do something else rather than what you're doing at the moment. But overall, really, really rather good. Great cinematography. Uses the South Korean landscape. If I think it's in Seoul, or maybe it's just an unnamed city. But yeah, really makes South Korea at night time look absolutely both gorgeous and menacing at the same time. And just in terms of how lonely it comes across at times, which is, you know, a theme in of itself. But yeah, basically it's about a deaf girl called Kyung Mi, who catches the attention of Dorseek, who is a mysterious serial killer that has been stalking the neighbourhood, and he basically thinks he can take advantage of her because she's deaf, but that proves out not to be quite the case. And yeah, you get a nice booklet with it as well, basically just going through the film. I think there's a write-up on it. Yeah, it's going through the cast, it's got some shots from the film. So yeah, really rather nicely done. Quite violent as well, but not as violent as you might expect for something that is about a serial killer. And yeah, talks about the transfer in there as well. And finally, from 88 Films, we have 4 efforts from them that I got on the sale. So yeah, like I said, they're all their films are currently 25% off. I think it's up until the 28th of March. So yeah, well worth checking them out, because I've already got 5 films from them before, and 4 of which I've seen, and I will get around to the other one. But yeah, still, these 4, on the whole, I really rather enjoyed. And the best of the bunch is Crime Story, starring Jackie Chan. So yeah, I've been on a bit of a Jackie Chan streak lately. I've bought several from him so far. I got the 2 Project A films and the 2 Police Story films. But this is a lot darker than either of those films, as well as also the Armour of God films, which are also on the 88 Films website. So yeah, this is a far more violent, far more, as you can see by the 18 rating, for instance, far more violent, far darker in terms of its, its consequences of its violence. It's a lot more gunplay in it. There's not as much, martial arts action as you'd expect from a Jackie Chan film, but still the action is glorious, as you typically expect. The stunts are great, and it's well paced, it's highly engrossing, and got solid production value as well. So highly recommend trying it out if you haven't already. It's only 107 minutes long, so it's not going to ask much of your time, but it's a great film regardless. And then we have 2 Italian crime films. I think they were called Poliziottis or something like that. I'm rubbish at foreign names. I do apologise for that. But yeah, this one is directed by Umberto Lenzi, and The Tough Ones, starring Maurizio Merli and Thomas Milan. And yeah, really nice slipcover on it with the new artwork on both sides, but you do have the reversible artwork as well on the actual case. And yeah, this has the double discs, because you not only have the original Italian version, but you also have the Grindhouse US cut called Brutal Justice. Not seen that version yet. Not sure how long it is in comparison to the standard version, but still, it should be interesting to try it out. But yeah, apart from the fact that I think this is the one that doesn't treat women all that particularly well, as every character is either brutalised or exploited in some form or other, it's still a really, really good crime film from Italy. Just not the best, because like I said, it doesn't treat women all that particularly nicely. Then we have The Violent Professionals, which actually has an American star in it, because not only does it have Luke Miranda, but it also has Richard Conte as the antagonist. And yeah, Richard Conte is really rather good in this, and it works well alongside the Italian cast. Again, a really nice slipcover on it. And yeah, only the single edition on this. There's no double disc or separate version of it, but still, both this and The Tough Ones have really good transfers on them. This has a 2K transfer, and The Tough Ones has a 4K transfer. So really well, very nicely done. Look better than I guarantee they've ever looked before, and really rather both solid 3.5 star films. Have their issues, which kept it from being 4 or higher, which is why I didn't get the special edition versions of either of them, even on sale. I still don't think they would have been worth that extra money, but still, you do get some nice extras with those special editions if you do love those films, so well worth checking them out. And finally, we have from Charles Bronson, from the Cannon films, which aren't known for their high quality films, but this is easily one of their better ones from the 80s, Murphy's Law. Now, it's not quite as good as 10 to Midnight, which is also on sale from 88 Films, but still, it's a really, really good crime thriller. It's also directed by J. Lee Thompson, who did a bunch of the films with Charles Bronson. Did several other films in the 60s. I think he did Guns of Navarone. But yeah, still. It also stars... who is it? I can't remember now. Where's she gone? No. I thought there was someone in this that I not seen this for a while, so I do apologise. I thought there was someone in it that isn't. Yeah, nice slipcover on it. And yeah, there's this film itself. And yeah, single disc edition, but you do get a really rather nice thick booklet with this, going through all sorts. Basically, it's got a bunch of film shots from it, like that. Charles Bronson's about to get an axe in the back of the head, or is he? And yeah, a bunch of other pictures. Actually, I think it is only just screenshots from the film. Yeah, it is. But it's nice enough to have. You know, I wasn't expecting any extras, given it's a standard edition, I feel. But yeah, still more shots from it. There's Charles Bronson himself. There's a car going through a restaurant. A lady holding a gun. And yeah. Work out which one's the villain in that out of those four. And then, yeah, Charles Bronson on the back. So yeah, really rather nice edition. Can't wait to revisit some of these, especially the ones I've not seen for a while, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Predator, Murphy's Law. But still, really rather nice last few weeks in terms of purchasing films. Not massive amount in comparison to some, you know, updates that I've done, but because of your sales on from 88 Films, and you know, you got new release from Eureka, and other films have been on sale. The Predator and Who Framed Roger Rabbit were both on 4K for 2 for $30. So yeah, and all the other standard Blu-rays were also on sale in one form or another. So yeah, might not have bought a lot, but I've not also spent a lot either. So yeah, works out in the end overall. Nonetheless, thanks for watching. I'd like to hear what you've bought recently. But yeah, thanks and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.